They had a picture of a cell phone with you and on the cell phone.
That was on the WQL.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I laughed every
They
time.
kept calling back and forth and back and forth, and I said,
But
they
you know
wanted to.
what? You know what about the window? It wasn't because you were driving in the car, it was because you were talking.
Come on, Delmer, come on. I thought of no one else in this town, at least you were my ally.
Mark up a number for the old geezer though.
All right, I'd like to officially break up this fun. Are we rolling? To call this meeting of the Seneca County Board of Commissioners for Tuesday, February 3rd to order. Please join us with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join me for a prayer. Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for the opportunity to gather and do the business of the county. Please be with us as we make the decisions and have the discussion on what's best for the citizens of Seneca County. Amen. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Stacy?
Here.
Commissioner Zimmer?
Here.
Commissioner Christian?
We'll have the signing of the journal, and I'll accept a motion to approve the DVD recording from the previous board session, which was Tuesday, January 20th, and the index.
I'll make a motion, we approve it as outlined.
I will second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Approved. All right, do we have any adjustments to the agenda? Anybody need to get something on? We have it.
Old business, snow emergency, day late and summer short.
But winter's still here.
Yeah, but winter's still here. And
Anything?
I'm not sure if Ken Jones will be in. He had called, left me a message yesterday, since it was level 3, we weren't in. Said he seen in the paper that it was advertised we were gonna have public discussions. So he said that if he wasn't on the agenda, take him off, he'll come in then, so.
Oh,
But I haven't.
Who is this?
Ken Jones, just a citizen, wanted to come in and,
Comment about what?
Justice
an
Center.
idea for the courthouse or something. He had talked to me before, and so I told him, when we had meetings and stuff, and I said, he said he wanted to be an agenda item, so we put him on, but, okay. So if he doesn't come in, he'll participate when there's another, which there is every Tuesday.
I don't know about you guys, but I had a ton of phone calls yesterday from people that were very unhappy with the level 3, a lot of area businesses and so forth. I mean, here I am, it's 80 degree weather, they're complaining about the level 3, but.
It's hard to say with us.
And I understand that the safety aspects of it and so forth, but also understanding that the level 3 does certainly affect businesses that have got responsibilities and orders to get out and customers to serve and
Yep.
food that's gonna perish in the refrigerators if they don't, I mean, so it's a balance there that we've got to continue to, Sheriff Huckleberry, and I know that he does, but you got to keep focused on, we're a business community and we need to be cognizant of all those things.
Do you have any other agenda items to add? If not, we can start within the snow emergency area. The snow emergency stuff, let's go from whatever aspect you wanted to bring up.
I had emailed you guys, not proposed, clerk of courts have prepared a policy that they have implemented for level 3s, level 2s, and level 1s. It's the same policy that our office usually has always done. We've never formally accepted the policy because it's usually up to the elected officials and the department heads. But if there's a level 3, the courts, including the clerk of courts and including, after talking to the judges, including the city of Tiffin, all Seneca County courts, including Tiffin, will be closed on level 3s. In the event there's a level 2, all courts in Seneca County will be open and operating. In the event there's a level 1, the courts will be open, obviously. In the event that a level 2 snow emergency, which later in the day turns to a level 3, courts will close upon announcement of level 3. And then if the event of a level 3 begins and later reduced to a level 2, the courts will stay closed. So, I'd emailed this to each of you. I know it's been each elected officials and department heads' decisions, but I thought maybe if we had, if it was, if you guys would, encourage to the other offices, so everybody knows, okay, level 3, all of the offices are closed on this, or, I'd sent it to Julie and, Damon, and they were in favor of the consistency. So I just wanted your opinion.
I think it makes sense. Again, we can't force, the only thing we can do is because we are in control of the buildings. But other than that, we can't force our offices to do things. But I think kind of having as much of a uniform policy is best. I'd like to see us support that strongly amongst all departments to follow. That's my opinion.
Yeah. How does compensation work? I mean, if it's a level 3, do they have to take that as vacation time, or
Level 3, no, is paid.
it's paid?
Paid. If it's a level 2, they have to use their time.
The level 2, though, therefore they could, if they choose not to come in on a level 2, they have to have some kind of leave or not get paid. Yep.
Level 3 is, they're automatic. Like yesterday, everybody in the county was paid because it was a level 3.
Yep. So, any,
I won't have any comment on that.
then I'll just remark, in your discussion about the level 3 and the impact on the community is that, I know it's tough, but somebody's gotta make the call, and to have a unified, or a single person who has the force out there to know what the road conditions are, and he has to do that on respect that these people might be coming from Attica to Tiffin to work, or from Fostoria, or from outside of our community to forewarn what's happening, some coming through our county, and or while they're here, is that I think he's gotta make those calls. And it was lifted by 10:30, sometime like that. So in terms of manufacturing, businesses, they could have opened up at that point. I mean, it didn't go on until between 4 and 4:30 in the morning. It was lifted by 10:30, and I thought at least it was a fair warning. And it's not a good situation where the person who went into work and then it gets called and or gets lifted, and people say, well, by this time, this was going on in another county, people complaining, and it happened at ours last year. I'm like, no, nor is it fair. The majority of people, you may say, go to work between 6 and 8. However, there are people that went to work between 4 and 6 as well. And so it works in all ways. It is what it is. And, yeah.
It's the climate we live in, and I feel the hardship, not only for industrial people, but for the retail sector. I mean, again, I got a couple calls from a couple of the restaurants in town, and it's kiss of death. So, long as, when we make it, I'm sure that the sheriff does that, when he makes those decisions, he takes into consideration safety and also the environment that we live in today.
Yeah.
So, no more said.
All right. Things listed here with old business under agenda, a museum update. I asked Stacy, I'm assuming she got that to you too. I had drafted up the proposed amendments to the current lease agreement we have for the museum with the Seneca County Historical Society, which we verbally had communicated to them, and we are taking care of things that were by the current lease in their obligation to do, which was pay for the maintenance and utilities, those kinds of things. So we needed a change, we need an amendment, because we are now taking care of those things, and this is just until the end of the year. It's the last year of the lease agreement, of the 4 potential renewable years, which it's in. So I drafted those up, I got them to Stacy, I sent it to prosecutor's office. They reviewed it, they prepared the new lease, which that's not it, that's the old one. But they incorporated those into the new lease, asked me a few questions, and I just wanted you to have a chance to see it, and then if we want to have discussions here, I don't want to send it over to them until we agree that we all like the amendments proposed and have it go to them.
I've read it, and I'm fine with it.
Okay.
I'm fine that we can move forward with it. I think it's a step in the right direction. I still would like to see long-term, if there's possibility of reuniting, or somehow or they're uniting the Historical Society, the foundation, and the commissioners to have a 3-level, that would be my long-term interest. And I think that aren't we investigating some things through
Yeah.
SCORE or?
Yeah, we're looking at
something?
doing a restructuring effort, and so where we're at now is the proposed amendments on the lease. I guess, Stacy, if you'll ask the prosecutor's office if he wants, do we go ahead and get that out to the Historical Society for their review and signatures, and then we'd sign, or, you know, they might have some questions.
Right.
Or if he sends that, I don't know who that should go through to them, but we need to get that to them. In the meantime, yes, I've been working with the gentleman with SCORE, and we are looking at gathering all of our background information that helps him to understand our situation extremely well. And we can have, we're looking at sometime about late March. I wanted to get this amended lease out of the way. I will get a couple from each of their groups, and we will sit and have kind of the discussions of how this restructuring process, and whether we have, you call it a charrette, discussion, brainstorming session, whatever it is, the first meeting to kind of set how we might be able to step through this and make that work. And it's gonna take some time, but I think it's obviously time well spent. We need to do this for the sake of having a museum, and so that's kind of the time frame I'm on now. Once the leasing is done, and we're shooting for late March, but like I said, I next gotta get information from both groups. I've asked them to get some things to me. I haven't heard anything, but I will reach out again, and we will be looking at sometime gathering in late March for the first meeting with that small group to kind of set a time frame and a structure and make sure the common objective exists.
Plug your efforts on that, so we're going forward there.
Okay, next we have the Portage River Joint Ditch number 2473. I participated in that meeting on our behalf last week in Bowling Green, and it's got the majority of it being Wood County, a little bit, or some Hancock County, and a very small portion Seneca County, and we have given Wood County permission to do our role assessments for that ditch project. It's a long-standing one from when that petition was filed, and so the Wood County engineer is moving forward. They're waiting to hear back from things on the process and all that, but we actively have given our blessing to do stuff and keep it moving. So that's all there is on that one. And I guess then we'll move into the new business, and if you want to begin with the bill vouchers.
Okay, I have bill vouchers 6 through 12. I have a resolution authorizing an appropriation adjustment for the EMA Hazardous Mitigation Fund 146, moving $1,958.46 from contract services to transfers out. A resolution authorizing the fund transfer be made from the EMA Hazardous Mitigation Fund 146 to the Emergency Planning Commission Fund 029, and moving $1,958.46 from 146 to 029. A resolution authorizing a fund transfer be made to the Soil and Water Fund 042, moving $140,000 from the general fund to Soil and Water Fund. This is our contribution for soil and water. I have a resolution authorizing a fund advance repayment from the Youth Center Construction Fund 217 to the general fund. Repayment amount $1,671.83. I have a resolution authorizing a fund advance repayment from the EMA Fund 102 to the general fund in the amount of $15,079.40. I have a supplement to the permanent appropriations from Public Assistance Fund 030, putting $750 into the HSA contribution. A resolution setting time, date, and place to receive sealed bids for the asphalt project located at 3040 South State Route 100 and 108 Jefferson Street, Tiffin, Ohio. The date for these bids will be 10:30 on Tuesday, March 3rd, 2015, here at the Commissioner's Office. This is for the sheriff's lot and the little juvenile probates lot down there. I have a resolution authorizing an amendment to the lease agreement between the Seneca County Board of Commissioners and the Seneca County General Health District. The Health District Director had asked about changing the, when the payments are due. It was monthly before, and they have changed it to quarterly, which, that it didn't matter to us, but they changed it. The only thing that changed was their payments will be due March 31st, June 30th, September 30th, and December 31st. I have a resolution setting time, date, and place to receive sealed bids for the Seneca County Road 30-2.31 Bridge Rehabilitation, LPA 1400. This will be set for Tuesday, March 3rd, 2015, 10:30 a.m. here at the Commissioner's office. A resolution authorizing the Seneca County Board of Commissioners to enter into an agreement contract with the Ohio Department of Transportation. This is for the install, repair of guardrails on various county roads in Seneca County for 2015, on behalf of the engineer. A resolution authorizing a contract service agreement with Crawford County Board of Commissioners for the receipt, custody, and care of Crawford County juveniles on behalf of the Seneca County Youth Center for 2015. And I have resolution authorizing the 2014 schedule of expenditures of federal awards contract between Julian and Grube Incorporated and Seneca County on behalf of the Seneca County Auditor for 2000, it says 13. I will have to check with her because I don't know what years before. The resolution has in it 2014. And it's 2015, so.
I printed off another one that said 2014 for the year, but it must have got mixed up somewhere else.
Okay. I have to call them just to make sure. A resolution appointing Dave Shelton to the Seneca County Board, Seneca County,
That's the
Must Opportunity Center.
I don't know what it's got a fund number in there.
That's their board number.
Oh, that's their board number, okay. 169 board, on behalf of the Seneca County Opportunity Center. I have a resolution authorizing the Seneca County Auditor to extend the period for filing the application for dog licenses to the end of business day today, Tuesday, February 3rd, 2015. It would have been yesterday, but since the level 3, she asked if we could extend it till the end of the day today for no penalties. So they can get their dog license till the end of the day with no penalties. And that must be the one that says 2014. It should have been.
We don't want to penalize Fluffy for the snow.
So it shows just to be Tuesday, February 3rd.
Yes. I think that's all I have.
Okay. A motion to approve the resolutions?
I think I'll make a motion to approve the resolutions as discussed.
And we'll second. Any questions, concerns, comments? Anything on any of them? It's all pretty straightforward. Okay, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kirschner, Commissioner Zoller,
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy.
Yes, approved. This gives us an opportunity for citizens' comments at this point in our agenda. Are there any citizens' comments? Very well.
It's just a comment on snow removal on the sidewalks. Now, yesterday, did the maintenance guys come in and clean the sidewalks off?
Are you talking regarding the county sidewalks, right? What's our obligations?
Right, your obligation around the buildings.
I'm pretty sure Dean said they were here yesterday because they had an issue with somebody trying to pull in the parking lot when they were trying to get stuff cleaned out of it.
Yeah.
They're supposed to come in.
Yeah.
I would, just a question, I would assume that, but
Yeah.
thank you,
Yeah.
thank you.
Anything else for citizens' comments? Did you have anything else for us today? Just coming up to join us? It's good.
We'd just like to see you, Pete.
Well, you know,
Okay, nothing else? Okay. All right, then, have anything else to go to the order?
Nope, I'm gonna guess he's not gonna.
Yeah,
make
Mr.
it.
Jones is not here, but again, he's probably gonna take opportunity to join us at some other time. And you have anything else to go to the order?
Yeah, I would like to, I've been in discussions with the mayor, this is over the Justice Center, and we know last week that SIDEC came out with this study, and I applaud the process of the study and so forth, but we need to really kind of have a joint meeting with the city council, and the commissioners to discuss that study, discuss the plan going forward. I want to go on record that I certainly appreciate the efforts for the study, but and I hate to pick something apart, but, you know, our responsibility as stewards of taxpayers' money is we have to dissect things and make sure that we have a thorough understanding of what costs are gonna be. I know that, you know, there's a lot of people that are promoting something, but my fear is I don't wanna agree to something, then we find out down the road the cost isn't what we thought it was gonna be, but it's gonna be a new cost. It's substantially higher, and how do we pay for that? And so those are a lot of issues that we need to work out, and certainly since the city will be a participant in the process, I think it's a good idea that we get city council and the commissioners, and we sit down and we come up with a course of action of how we're gonna go forward and dissect the study to make sure that what the study is shown as cost are true cost and not hypothetical cost, because there was a lot of estimates in there. When you go to pay the bills, you don't pay an invoice by estimate, you pay it by reality. And there's the thing that concerns me, if it's $3-4 million more, how are we gonna come up with the money? How are we gonna pay for it? Who's gonna do it? So I think that's important. Right now, it's preliminarily set up for the 12th of February, and will be a joint city council commissioners meeting. And of course, that will be an open public meeting. And we're tentatively looking at, the mayor has not gotten with all of the city council members, and I certainly haven't spoken with my fellow commissioners on it, but we're kind of looking something around 5:30 in the evening. I'm not sure if it's gonna be
Thursday.
here or at city council or where, I don't know yet.
Okay, I was gonna say, where would we have that? They meet in municipal court room, right?
Yeah, I don't know which is bigger, and of course, there will be public comment on that, even though I would like to keep the focus down between city council and the commissioners to deal with it. Probably this is not the time for public comment. And I don't know the legalities of there, but we have to have an understanding between the city and the county and how we're gonna go forward with this.
So just open dialogue, so we can both.
Open dialogue,
Bring
yeah.
up the concerns each have,
Yeah.
and kind of the what if. If we
An
do this,
action
and how's that
plan.
gonna happen?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, but more of that more so that than public comment. At some time, we will certainly get public comment, but I think before we really get into public comment, we need to understand what the costs are.
Right.
That's paramount, because the costs are gonna be a driver here.
Do you
So,
think by the 12th, we're gonna know more to discuss the actual financial aspect of it in that picture? Because obviously, that's not when we're gonna make our decision, but is it gonna be more about, kind of, more of the what if? If we're together on this, this is how this would work, we only want, I mean, they might say, we only wanna do it if it's this way, we might say, we only wanna do it if it's this way, and have that, and see if we get any consensus on certain issues, or do you think, I'm guessing we aren't gonna have a new set of numbers.
no.
Okay.
Well, I believe that the reason for the meeting on the 12th is to discuss a plan, how we can move forward. Right now, we have two studies, the Burgess and Nyepel study and the Grossman study, which have come up with somewhat two different figures. And so, where do we go forward? How do we go forward? How do we substantiate these numbers? Because there's a lot of estimates in both of them. And certainly, in the renovation process is some major estimates in there versus new construction. Those are not so much of an estimate. Again, I'm not being
Right.
biased to one or the other, but I know as a steward of taxpayers' money, I want to know what it's going to cost before we get into it, as much as we possibly can. So again, I'm repeating myself, but the purpose of the meeting is more or less to discuss an action plan, how we can come up with committees or however to dissect these numbers so we can come up with some true cost on the project. I have no idea. How do we go from where we are today to having a building someday? This is just one step in the process. And since it is going to be a joint justice center occupied by the city and the county, I think it's important, even though the sole decision lies within the commissioners from what I'm told. we certainly want to make sure that we have our partners in the process, the city, on board with what's going on, because they gotta pay for part of it too.
We are gonna have to hit the point that we make a decision on, obviously, on all of the information that we're still dissecting and absorbing and checking numbers and all those things like you're saying. We gotta know the accuracy of things, and not on estimates. But we're gonna get to that point and have to make that decision, and then the city will have to determine, if they don't like the decision we make, they may decide they don't wanna be part of a joint justice center. And that's fair, but I guess we have to, I guess it's kind of it's in our court at this moment,
Yeah.
and I think we have to make that decision sooner than later to get it, in order for it to move on, because that's kind of we're at the crossroads. We're either going to have it here or there, and based on that, the city's gonna decide what they wanna do, and then we move forward.
And I absolutely agree, and we all have to realize, kicking this can down the road of prolonging decisions, not that we need to hastily make a decision, but the clock is ticking, and $425,000 a year minimum as costs continue to increase, construction costs, financing costs are at an absolute low. So all predictions are that financing is gonna continue to increase, so that adds dollars for repayment. I mean, all those things, so no, we don't have to make a decision today, but we cannot continue to kick this can because it's costing the taxpayers money. And we're all taxpayers.
So at this point, do you want to have Stacy as county administrator reach out to city council and confer, having a meeting? Do you want to continue with mayor, let her know?
I think the mayor, I've had correspondence with him this morning, and he's got a couple of the councilmen that can meet it. They prefer 5:30, but he said he won't have an answer till tomorrow night at 5. Apparently they have a council meeting tomorrow or something. That's what he's waiting for that. He said it would be tomorrow night that he would have a final answer if they can get the council at a whole there. But we're tentatively looking at Thursday, February 12th, time and place to be announced, which we will certainly make that announcement no later than next Tuesday's meeting,
All right, well,
Commissioners' meeting.
I guess we will wait to hear from them. Hopefully they'll communicate as soon as they have information and go from there in setting it up. And assuming there's nothing on the county calendar that conflicts with. I didn't bring my calendar in here with me, so I don't.
No.
Okay. All right. Anything else for the good of the order then?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, yes.
Can I make a statement or
Sure.
a question? Basically, what offices are supposedly, as far as accounting offices are concerned, to go into the joint justice center?
Okay, what was looked at on the initial study is the Joint Justice Center would consist of Common Pleas 1 and 2, Municipal Court, Probate and Juvenile Court, the
Clerk of court.
Clerk of Courts. That would encompass in that one facility,
Okay.
okay?
So really.
And that would resolve some long-term security issues,
Yeah.
okay? Combine the security where now we have 2 and ultimately we need 3, that we're missing the third one, and take care of some ADA accessible issues.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, additional savings of consolidation of some court activities and so forth and so on that are still to be determined.
Okay, I looked through, I went over in the internet and looked through some of the presentation from the junior high there. And amongst all the words in there, there's something was said about the joint between the city and the county. And it almost indicated to me that the city could not own part of that building. It would have to be county owned and leased or something to the city. It didn't say that in so many words, but the way it said it, there's a possibility that the county, it has to be one ownership, not two ownership.
And that was an opinion shared from several of us in sessions here, is that, you know, if we're gonna be 3/4 of the occupants, whatever the math, 2/3, majority.
Yeah.
We feel that we need to own the building. And in order to us to be able to know what we're setting our future the county long into the future to deal with. We feel that's the only right way to do it. That was an opinion that I think you shared it here. The ones I know I did as well, is that we need to own the building. Because it's, because we are gonna be the majority occupant of the building under those conditions of a joint justice center with what Commissioner Zoller just outlined of the courts that are gonna be part of it and offices.
That's a question that I
Yeah.
would have had, is who would have had the ownership of the building?
Yeah. And then when we looked at, a while back, when the mayor and his legal counsel, Brent Howard, and myself and Derek Devine as our prosecutor, met and discussed things, that they started looking at, the probability of what a lease arrangement can be with another governmental agency. Because as, we can't just assume things, there'll be some limitations of how that can look. And we started looking at that what-if situation, if we have a joint justice center, how can that be set up? How does that roll out? And so we started that process a while ago, knowing, and there are some limitations with it, how many years you can put on it. I mean, it's reasonable, but if it's 40 years or whatever it is, but there's things like that you have to know, so.
So then what would, if this all came about and the county and the city took the building over, what would happen to the juvenile court building?
Oh, boy, I'd love to answer that one. The juvenile probate court, Mr. Ringo, how we store county records is atrocious. We have archival records that are so cool, they go back into 1870, I mean, in every nook and cranny and basement and closet that we have in the county, we're storing records. What better place to store records than the old Carnegie Library, which is today known as the Juvenile Probate Court. That building was made exactly for that, and it is just, that's a home waiting to be called the new archival center. Absolutely. One thing that, just to elaborate, the county has currently a system in place where we rent to other governmental agencies. And quite frankly, what that's called is Maximus. And what it is an independent agency that assesses the cost of a facility, and they prorate it down based on square footage. So there is a binding process that the county currently uses so that it's fair for all entities, and we could ideally set up a binding arbitration unit between the city and the county. So if there is any dispute on anything, we go to a third-party arbitrator and it's binding. So there are options that certainly need to work out, but it's not water that we haven't treaded before. This is something the county currently uses. This independent agency is called Maximus, and it works out very, very well. They assess, they'll have to do an estimate at first, but then they always look at last year's cost. And then they assess that through the organization. So it works very well, and my hope is that we can work out something similar, because that's fair and equitable to the city and the county.
Yeah, that cost allocation process allows us, as Commissioner Zoller said, to fairly and adequately charge other county departments as well as non-county departments for their share of having the facilities they're in. Like the health department leases space from us. There's one retail establishment in that same building that leases space from us. The USDA out of the county, the old county home building on 100, the Ag Center, as it's called. There's all those offices in there are county in their name, but they're not under the county. So we've got to figure out a way to charge them, rent essentially. And that Maximus system is what allows us to do that fairly and adequately across the board. So.
And it's independent.
Yeah.
We don't control it, they don't control it, independent. So it's a doable situation.
Yes, that's fine.
I have another thing, getting back to Crawford County again. I brought that up several times. Basically speaking, as I understand from what Crawford County does, they have Bucyrus City Court in the county building. And then they have a city court in Gallion, if I understand. But I think that actually the county has control of the city courts in some fashion. And I don't understand how that would be, how this would be any better, any different than that. I mean, in other words, if, the way I understood it, and I could be full of it up to my eyebrows, but the way I understood it, that the county actually has control over the city courts.
City court, and they might. I don't know all the setups of all the counties and how they have it, but I have brought that up and had some discussions with Judge Rep. I think, I don't know if we had discussions here, but I talked to Mark about it. We could have the responsibility of municipal court under the county ownership. It is not, now, it takes legislature from the state to make that happen. Like when we combined Tiff and Fostoria courts, that took legislation out of the State House to allow that to happen to be a combined court. This as well would if we were to take over municipal court, and if we did that, then that is totally under our call, which means, I don't know exactly if the judge is still, it would still be elected position, but then the security for that court would be ours. Right now, it's the city of Tiffin has the security for municipal court, not the county. So that, that's one, real change that would be there. Obviously, the whole process of revenues from that court would then become the county's. So that would be a discussion if city council was interested in having us take over the court, so we'd have to know what the city wanted to do. We could do that, and then it's a justice center under, and everything, and it would be under county jurisdiction. But with a joint justice center, it's not. City is responsible for municipal court, we're responsible, but some counties have it set up that way. So it can be, but it's a decision that has to be made locally and then supported at the state level.
The way I understood that's exactly what you're saying, and I didn't understand why this should be any different, especially if we went into one building,
Right.
Would that
Right.
make a difference?
That idea has been mentioned out there. Like I said, I don't know where city council would be if they have interest in doing that. A rough figure of what I believe probably was a net for out of municipal court at the end of 2014, if I'm remembering correctly what the judge told me, was probably about $25,000. It's not a lot of money, but it's $25,000. And like I said, there's a change of responsibility for the security and other things that would, I foresee coming with that. Municipal court is the fines and a lot of things that get paid, totally different than our common pleas 1 and 2. So potentially, municipal court, if under our jurisdiction, would be a support mechanism of that money for the rest of our common pleas 1 and 2. But like I said, there's a lot of devil in those details to be figured out. But it's just the nature of what part of the justice they hand out and they deal with. So, but not something that shouldn't maybe be discussed further now, so.
Yeah. I got one more question.
Sure.
Hopefully maybe you guys think maybe I should have one more, but the statement was, in some of the stuff that I went through, that if it went down to the East Junior High site, the courts would be in a new addition. The old part would be used for offices. Okay, what kind of offices and why? Why the old part for offices and the court the new part?
I think that's what the docents shared when we went on a tour, and I thought it was made matter of size of the rooms. I'm not 100% sure of that, but do you recall? I don't know.
No,
I don't know the dimensions of the courtrooms, but at the top.
Those are the things we have to dissect. Again, we have 2 separate studies, and since the responsibility is going to lie on the commissioners, and we have to then justify cost, justify size, how the whole thing is going to be. I mean, this is the beginning of a long process. But at some point, we've got to make a decision, we've got to move forward.
The reason why I'm saying that is because I went through all this stuff again and looked at pictures. And if you look at some of the pictures of the old building, I can understand why I wouldn't want to court in it. I wouldn't want to go into that building unless there was a heck of a lot of structural changes in it. Because I saw things in there, and you don't have to believe me, just goes back through it. And this is from the study, there was I-beams that were partially cut off, somehow or the other to fit. Well, there was wooden beams cut off, and then a metal I-beam put underneath them somehow to support that thing sometime in the past. Now, okay, that situation's not going to get any better in the years ahead. And that better be, if that building is used for a court facility or any public facility, that better be safe to be in down the road. Better be changes made or improvements made in that building to guarantee the safety of it. I looked at it and what I seen on it is even worse than what I thought, I got a little nervous looking at it, really. And like
There
I
is-
said, I had two kids in that, and one of them, they wouldn't let them up part of that building because it wasn't safe. And that's before the building, before the old, the new part of the old building got tore down. And that, you know,
Yeah.
it's 25 years ago.
There's a tremendous amount of hidden cost in renovating
Oh,
the
yeah.
facility. So the initial study is anywhere between $1.5 to $3 million more than what the other proposal was. That's the initial estimated cost.
Yeah.
And we gotta realize that those are the issues, and we're talking big dollars here. $1.5 million to $3 million estimated cost.
Yeah.
So, you know, when it comes, as I said, when you pay an invoice, you don't pay an estimated invoice. They give you an actual invoice that you gotta pay. We gotta come up with a minimum of $1.5 million, $3 million, $4 million, $5 million more. That's the things we need to do our due diligence on.
If anybody here would wanna look through how much you looked through it, I looked through it, after I looked through that, man, I was amazed. I saw spots in there where they laid plywood down, take the place of the old floor. And they covered up some of it, you know, because it said something about carpeting. Why is it covered up with carpeting? Because it's so doggone bad underneath there, it should have been replaced. Now, there was a couple of pictures in there that showed a beautiful floor, but just a couple, it showed a lot more bad, in my opinion.
But
than it
Delmer,
showed good.
in defense, it is a beautiful building.
Oh,
If
absolutely.
we couldn't save it and afford it,
Yeah, right.
save it and afford it,
And make it safe.
and functional long-term.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely, absolutely. Affordability and functionality are key issues here.
Yeah, as far as the joint center is concerned, if it be separate, it's gotta be a menace saver. You could probably have a third of the, what do you call it, security problem and everything. You gotta be able to save money there. And believe me, I try to save money. I haven't saved enough yet, but I try to, and everybody should. But the fact is, if they could go to a joint and it would save the city and the county, I happen to live in the city and the county, it would be great if it'd save them both money. But it's gotta be
The
safe, and
initial
it's
savings
safe,
are
and safe.
$180,000 a year, and that's just a tip of the iceberg,
How much you say?
$180
Yeah.
a year, and that's just tip of the
Yeah,
iceberg.
well, I can see where, you know, even the security, for God's sake, you going from 3 to 1, maybe, you know, $100,000, you can figure the
Yeah.
benefits and everything.
We have our homework.
Pardon?
We have our homework.
Yeah.
That's what we're starting
Yeah.
on the 12th.
Yeah. Well, I just, you know, I just hope that people don't overlook things out of sentiment, that's the thing. I used to be a sentimental guy, but after I got so old, I can't get sentimental anymore.
You forgot that that's part of the Alzheimer's?
That's part of it, you're right. You know, I always see I'm not in bad shape, but my head's not great, but you know what I'm saying?
Any other comments for the good of the order of citizens' comments? If not, I'll take motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned at 10:43.